The lobby was quiet except for the ticking of a minimalist wall clock and the occasional clack of heels across the tile floor. Malik sat alone near the window, back straight, eyes steady. He wore a navy blue polo, khakis, and well-worn brown shoes. Not flashy. Not poor. Just simple. He held a folder on his lap, his resume inside. Printed. Uncreased. The receptionist, a young woman with a cheerful voice, had greeted him kindly when he walked in. She had offered water. He declined. Now he waited. Watching the front desk. Watching the people who passed through the glass double doors. Noticing the glances. 2 candidates had come and gone already, both white, both in tailored suits. They'd been called almost immediately. Malik had been waiting 37 minutes. He glanced again at the clock. No irritation showed on his face. But he noticed. Then a door opened. A woman stepped out. Blonde. Mid-40s. Glasses perched on her nose. She looked directly at Malik and paused. Her expression faltered for just a second. "You here for the warehouse tech position?" she asked, standing stiffly near the door. Malik stood. "No. Logistics coordinator. 11 o'clock appointment." She blinked. "Oh. Right?" She checked the tablet in her hand, then scanned his folder, eyes narrowing faintly. "All right. Follow me." She turned without waiting. Malik followed. Calm. Quiet. But something in the way she walked, how her shoulders tensed, how she didn't ask him his name, told him what he needed to know. He didn't say a word. Yet, the room was glass-walled but felt closed in. A round table. 3 chairs. No windows. One plant in the corner, slightly wilted. Malik sat where she pointed, across from her. She didn't offer her name. Just sat. Tapped something into the tablet. Then finally looked up. "You don't have a degree listed," she said. "Not a question. A statement." "I have certifications," Malik replied. Lean Six Sigma, OSHA, and 3 years of supply chain coordination at Triage Freight. She barely nodded. Her eyes dropped back to the tablet. "You worked there until this February?" "Yes." "Why'd you leave?" "The company downsized. Post-merger. I took the severance." She didn't write anything. Just stared at him for a moment. "And you're applying for a coordinator role?" "Not operations assistant. I've done coordinator work for over 2 years. Managed route planning. Vendor negotiation. Inventory systems. I'm ready for more." Her smile was tight. Not rude. But not genuine either. "You'll be reporting to a team of senior planners. Mostly Ivy League. We tend to promote from within." "I read the job description," Malik said calmly. Her eyes flicked to his shoes. Then to the resume still folded on the table. "We've had issues before. People getting overwhelmed. Not understanding the pace. I've worked overnight cross docks in the middle of winter with 2 hours sleep," he said. "I know pace." Silence stretched. Then she stood abruptly. "All right, thank you. I'll let our team know you came by." She extended a hand. Brief. Polite. Malik stood but didn't move to leave. "Is this the final interview?" he asked. Her brows drew together. "Pardon?" "For this role." She hesitated. "We're still screening. We've had a few strong internal candidates." Malik nodded slowly, then reached into his folder and slid a business card across the table. Simple. White background. His name in sharp black print. She read it, then stopped breathing for just a moment. Malik Jordan, founder and executive director, Jordan Holdings Group. Her face paled. Jordan Holdings. The parent company. Malik didn't smile. Didn't gloat. Just watched. "I'll be staying for the team meeting at noon," he said quietly. "It'll be in Conference B, correct?" She couldn't answer. Just nodded barely. Malik turned and walked out. His steps quiet. Measured. He had all the answers he needed. Angela, the receptionist, was refilling the coffee machine when Malik passed by again. She smiled at him a little nervously now. She had overheard something. Or felt something shift. People like her notice things others don't say. "Everything all right, Mr. Jordan?" she asked quietly. Malik nodded. "Yes. Thank you for being kind when I walked in." She blinked, surprised, then gave a small, real smile. "Of course." Down the hall, the woman who had interviewed him, her nameplate now visible, Karen D., Human Resources Manager, was whispering in a small group by the copier. She looked flustered. One hand on her hip, one waving vaguely in the air. "He didn't even. I mean, no degree and that resume," she was saying. Someone whispered back, "He's here for a logistics role, not legal." Karen scoffed. "Still, we need someone polished. Presentable." Another voice, lower, "You might want to tone it down. I just got a message, he's staying for the noon leadership sync." That stopped her. Karen's jaw tensed. He's not who I thought." She didn't finish the sentence. Couldn't. Inside the glass walls of Conference B, Malik stood alone now, hands in his pockets, reading a chart on the wall. Inventory flow analysis. People passed by the room, glancing in. Some slowed down. No one had introduced him yet. But they were starting to realize. He wasn't here to apply. He was here to observe. 12 chairs. One long table. The kind of room where small decisions pretend to be big ones, where people talk in circles and call it alignment. Malik sat at the head of the table. Not by accident. People entered slowly. First a junior manager, then a senior planner, then 2 others from HR. Some glanced at Malik and nodded politely, still unsure. Karen entered last. She took a seat furthest from him. Nobody asked why he was there. Not out loud. The director of operations, Alan Peters, arrived at exactly 12:01. Graying temples. Expensive suit. He paused when he saw Malik, then quickly walked over with a wide smile. Mr. Jordan, didn't expect you until next quarter. Plans changed, Malik replied, calm. Alan looked around at the room. Noticed the awkwardness. I take it, introductions haven't been made. Karen shifted uncomfortably. Looked down at the table. Alan turned to the group. Everyone, this is Malik Jordan. He's the founder of Jordan Holdings. Our parent firm. A silence stretched. Then a few chairs shuffled. Postures straightened. Only Karen stayed still, her eyes now fixed on the edge of the table, knuckles pale against her pen. Malik spoke, finally. I wanted to see how things run on the ground. How people are treated when they walk in with no title in front of their name. No one moved. His voice stayed even. No edge. No accusation. Just fact. I sat in your lobby. I watched who got welcomed. Who got overlooked. Who got sized up before they opened their mouth. Someone cleared their throat quietly. Malik continued, and I sat for an interview I never scheduled. That was enlightening. He didn't look at Karen. But everyone else did. She stared ahead. And for the first time her face showed something real. Uncertainty. Karen didn't speak. Not yet. She looked at Alan, hoping he'd interject. Shift the focus. Offer some kind of save. He didn't. Malik leaned forward slightly, resting his hands on the table. His tone was the same. Calm. Controlled. Let's talk about recruitment, he said. Who we think deserves a chance. Who we dismiss before hearing a word. The HR coordinator, young, nervous, shifted in her seat. We follow standard screening protocols, she offered. Malik nodded. And how much of that is based on experience? Or appearance? The question wasn't rhetorical. Karen finally spoke, voice tight. We have benchmarks. I was trying to be efficient. We've had people apply who don't match our standards. Malik turned his head slightly. And what are those standards? Someone who walks in wearing a $400 suit? Someone who speaks a certain way. Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. Malik continued. I could have walked in here with a briefcase and a Rolex. But I chose not to. I wanted to see who you made space for. The silence that followed wasn't polite. It was heavy. Exposing. A planner at the far end of the table, Asian, early 30s, cleared his throat and said, I've had applicants dismissed before I even met them. Resumes that were solid. Never made it to my desk. Malik looked at him. And you said something? The man hesitated. Not loud enough. Malik nodded once. That's going to change. Then he looked back at Karen. This time directly. Her eyes met his. She didn't look confident anymore. Just, small. Alan finally spoke. His voice low, controlled. Karen, how many applicants did we screen out last quarter before manager review? She hesitated. I don't have the number on hand. We do, Malik said quietly. Angela, the receptionist, stepped in from the doorway. She carried a small binder, placed it gently in front of Malik, then slipped out without a word. Malik opened it. 74 qualified applicants for mid-level operations roles were rejected before second review. 49 of them Black or Latino men. Nearly all met or exceeded basic criteria. Most had better field experience than our internal candidates. He looked up. No one moved. Karen's lips parted, but nothing came out. Alan looked visibly disturbed now. Not at Malik. At the reality. Was there a system flag? A note. Malik asked calmly. Karen stammered. Sometimes it's intuition. Cultural fit. Whose culture? Malik asked. Still calm. Still level. Karen's silence was answer enough. Malik closed the binder gently. This isn't about one mistake. It's about how many we don't see because we assume people who look like me need to prove something extra. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Every eye in the room was on him. Every word was landing exactly where it needed to. Karen sat still, shoulders drawn in, pen forgotten in her hand. The silence that followed wasn't awkward anymore. It was revealing. Malik stood up, slowly. Not for effect, just because he was done sitting. I'm not here to fire anyone today, he said, looking around the room. But I am here to change how this company sees itself. No one interrupted. I started Jordan Holdings out of a storage unit in Newark. First contracts were small. Warehouse pickups. Manual tracking. Nothing impressive. He let that sit. Now we're in 5 states. Multiple operations hubs. And we're acquiring more every year. Not because we cut corners. Because we build trust. He turned to the glass wall behind him. gesturing toward the building. This office? This team? You're part of that growth. But you don't get to represent our name while narrowing the door for people who deserve to walk through it. Karen looked down. Her shoulders didn't rise. Malik continued, his voice steady. If the first filter is always appearance, we're not hiring talent. We're hiring comfort. The room stayed quiet. Then one of the senior planners, a Latina woman with her arms crossed tightly, nodded once. We need to change how resumes are reviewed, she said. Remove names. Standardize screening. Alan glanced at her. We can pilot that. Malik nodded. You will. Then he turned slightly toward Karen. I'll meet with you privately after this, he said, no edge in his tone. Just finality. She nodded. Slowly. Still no defense. No denial. Just the realization that the room no longer saw her as the one in charge. The conference room emptied slowly. No one rushed. People filed out in silence or whispered tones. Not the kind of exit that follows a typical meeting. Something quieter, heavier, reflective. Alan stayed behind a moment, looking at Malik. You want me in the room for your meeting with Karen? Malik shook his head. No. I think it's better if it's just her and me. Alan nodded. Understood. Then he left, closing the door gently behind him. Karen remained seated at the far end of the table. Malik didn't sit back down. He waited until the door clicked shut. Then he spoke. How long have you worked here? She cleared her throat. 7 years. And in that time, how often have you asked yourself why some people don't make it past your desk? She blinked, caught off guard. I've always tried to. To what? Malik asked, voice still calm. Be efficient? Spot red flags? Protect the company from bad hires? Karen hesitated. I get that, Malik said. But today, I walked in with the wrong shoes and the wrong shirt and you decided I wasn't worth your time. No resume could have changed that. Karen's mouth opened, closed again. She wasn't crying, but she looked like someone who wanted the floor to open up and swallow her. I wasn't trying to. You don't have to try, Malik interrupted. That's the point. He took a breath. You've probably done this 100 times. No slurs, no shouting, just gatekeeping. Quiet, professional-sounding exclusion. Karen's hands were folded tightly in her lap now. Malik didn't press. He didn't need to. She understood. Maybe not everything, but enough to feel the weight of it now. Karen finally spoke, voice thin. I didn't know who you were. Malik nodded. That's the problem. She looked up at him, eyes red but dry. I didn't mean to disrespect you. You didn't, Malik replied. You disrespected the position I was pretending to be in, which means it wasn't personal. That makes it worse. Karen's gaze dropped again. You've worked here 7 years. That tells me you're not lazy. You're not careless. He paused. It tells me you got comfortable. She stayed silent. Malik leaned slightly against the table. His tone softened just a little. I'm not firing you. Her head snapped up. But I'm giving you a choice, he continued. You can step down quietly, or you can stay with full transparency, full oversight, and new training responsibility. Not just for yourself, for your whole department. Karen blinked. You want me to stay? I want you to do the work, Malik said. But only if you're willing to be uncomfortable, to be questioned, to be held accountable for every resume you pass on and every one you don't. She looked unsure. People will know. They already do, he said. Silence settled again. Then Karen nodded. Slowly. I'll stay, she said. If I can help fix what I didn't see before. Malik studied her face, saw the uncertainty, the shame, but something else too. Resolve. Good, he said. We'll start tomorrow. The office felt different. Not louder, not quieter, just altered. The kind of shift you feel in posture, not volume. People greeted each other more carefully, held eye contact a second longer. There was no announcement, but word had spread. Karen arrived early, earlier than usual. She wore no heels today, no blazer, just flats and a plain sweater. Her usual clipped walk was slower. She stopped to speak to Angela at reception. Thanked her. Not for anything specific, just thanked her. Angela seemed surprised but nodded politely. In the break room, Malik poured himself a coffee. Alone. No assistance. No fanfare. Karen entered and paused in the doorway. He didn't look up. She approached quietly. Not timidly but with intention. I reviewed last quarter's rejections, she said, handing him a folder. Malik took it. Flag 20 that deserve another look, she added. He nodded. That's a start. Karen shifted. I also reached out to HR compliance. Asked for a review of our bias screening protocols. Malik raised his eyebrows slightly. On your own. She nodded. He met her eyes for a moment. Saw that it wasn't performance. She wasn't trying to save face. She was starting to see it. Keep going, he said. Karen gave a small nod and left the room. Malik sipped his coffee. He wasn't impressed. He was watching. By midday, the quiet buzz around the office had shifted into something more specific. People were talking, some behind closed doors, others in hallways. A few gathered in the break room over lunch. 3 planners, a junior analyst, and Angela from the front desk. Karen walked in with a sandwich and paused. Normally, she'd sit apart. Not today. She approached the table. No one stopped eating. But they watched her. Waited. I owe you all an apology, she said, voice calm, audible but not dramatic. No one interrupted. She sat. Slowly. Not commanding the room, joining it. I misjudged someone yesterday, she continued. And that means I've probably misjudged more than I realize. Angela glanced at her. A lot of people do. Karen nodded. I know. That's why I'm not going to ask for forgiveness. I'm just going to ask you to hold me to better. The room stayed still. One of the planners, mid-40s, white, usually quiet, finally spoke. That'll take time. I know, Karen said. But I'm not hiding from it. They didn't praise her. No clapping. No smiles. But no one left the table. And that for now was enough. By late afternoon, Malik was in a side office reviewing documents on a spare laptop. Not emails. Not projections. Resumes. All the ones Karen had flagged. He read through each without skimming. Experience. Roles. Skills. He made quiet notes. Halfway through the stack, he paused on one. Jamal Boyd, 10 years in third-party logistics. No degree, but a track record of solving routing problems no software could. Rejected. Reason, lacks professional polish. Malik stared at that line. Then deleted it. He picked up the office phone, called down to operations. Tell scheduling I want Jamal Boyd in for a second-round interview next Tuesday. Bring in one of our planners to sit in too. He hung up. Then flagged 5 more. Later, when Angela passed by, she saw him still reviewing, the folder open beside his keyboard. She knocked lightly on the frame. You don't have to go through all of those yourself. I know, Malik said. But I want to. And he did. Not because it was efficient, but because for too long, no one had. The next morning, Jamal Boyd walked through the same front doors Malik had the day before. Same reception. Same waiting area. But it was different now. Angela greeted him with a genuine smile. Mr. Boyd, welcome. Can I get you anything while you wait? He looked surprised. I'm good. Thanks. Karen came out a moment later. No clipboard. No assumptions. Jamal, she said, voice calm. He stood up, cautious. Yeah. I'll walk you in, she said. They moved through the hall in silence at first. Then she glanced at him. Just so you know, we mishandled your application. That won't happen again. He blinked. Oh. All right. No pressure, Karen added. Just give us your real story. When they reached the interview room, Malik was already inside. He stood, extended his hand. Jamal. Glad you could make it. Jamal shook his hand, firm grip, a little confused. Do I know you? Not yet, Malik said with a small smile. But I've read everything you've built. Let's talk about it. Jamal sat. Not like someone trying to prove something. Just like someone who finally had a seat at the table. After the interview, the room cleared out slowly. Jamal left with a quiet confidence, his handshake firmer on the way out than it had been walking in. He didn't ask if he got the job. He didn't need to. He knew he'd finally been seen. Karen returned to her desk, but not to catch up on emails. She pulled up the internal candidate review system and began going back through past dismissals. She opened one, then another, and then another. She started flagging them. Not for deletion. For another look. Angela passed by and paused. Karen glanced up. Angela didn't say anything. Just gave a quiet nod. Karen nodded back. Upstairs, Malik sat alone again. Looking out a second-floor window that overlooked the parking lot. He saw Jamal walking to his car. Saw the way he stood a little straighter. Shoulders relaxed. Not proud. Just unburdened. Malik didn't smile. He just watched. Because the work wasn't done. But it had finally started. By the end of the week, Malik prepared to leave the office. No announcements. No press. Just a quiet walk to the elevator. Karen saw him as he passed. She stood. Mr. Jordan. Malik, he corrected gently. She nodded. Malik. I just wanted to say thank you for not walking out. He paused. Looked at her. I wasn't here to walk out. I was here to see who stood still when they should have stepped forward. Karen didn't respond right away. She understood. He turned to leave. Downstairs, as he crossed the lobby, a young intern he hadn't met before stepped out of the mailroom. Black. Early 20s. Nervous energy. Sir, he asked quietly. Are you the one who owns the building? Malik didn't stop. But he slowed. Something like that, he replied. The intern nodded slowly. I figured. Malik looked at him, holding his gaze. Why? People started listening after you came, the intern said. That doesn't happen unless someone important walks in. Malik held the moment, then said, simply, make them keep listening. The young man nodded as if the weight of that mattered more than anything else he'd heard that week. Malik walked out into the afternoon sun. No cameras. No headlines. Just a shift left behind. In posture and policy and how quietly people would have to rewrite what they thought they knew. And for once, that was enough.